Simon Ekpa's trial in Finland did not proceed on June 5, 2025, but continued on June 6, 2025 at the Pihajoki District Court. While still in detention, Simon Ekpa shocked many by filing a lawsuit against his own Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Ngozi Orebweze, the Deputy Prime Minister of the United States of Biafra, USB. The lawsuit accuses Dr. Ngozi Orebweze of stealing a sensitive database containing personal and financial information of ipob members in Europe and the United States, and allegedly using it for malicious purposes. According to Finnish sources, Simon Ekpa is seeking financial damages, reimbursement of legal fees, and punitive consequences for what he alleges is serious misconduct within the leadership of the ipob USB. In response, Dr. Ngozi Orebweze publicly denied the accusations, accusing Biafra lawyer Armand Diri and other top Biafra officials of colluding with the Nigerian government to discredit the Biafra movement and its leaders. The official constitution of the United States of Biafra has been listed for sale on Amazon, signaling what supporters see as growing international recognition of their cause. A new Biafra embassy was inaugurated in Washington, D.C. on June 1, 2025, just minutes from the White House, marking a symbolic expansion of Biafra diplomatic activities. Legal analysts clarified that if Simon Ekpa is found guilty, he faces a maximum of 6 years in prison, regardless of his plea, under Finnish sentencing guidelines. The National Bureau of Investigation, NBI, in Finland is expected to present 4 piles of documents in court, potentially making it a pivotal day in Simon Ekpa's legal battle. On the morning of June 5, 2025, many people across Europe, Africa, and North America were expecting a defining moment in the court case of Simon Njoku Ekpa, the controversial leader of the United States of Biafra and self-declared Prime Minister of the Biafra government in exile. The date had been marked on calendars by journalists, lawyers, diplomats, and members of the indigenous people of Biafra, who had followed every development in the case with intense curiosity and hope or apprehension, depending on their allegiance. But when news broke that the trial did not proceed as planned, there was an initial wave of confusion followed by a mix of speculation and disappointment. According to reliable legal sources in Finland, the court adjourned the case to the following day, June 6, 2025, citing administrative delays and the logistical burden of handling what one Finnish court official described as a case involving transnational digital and financial evidence of unusual volume and sensitivity. Although the trial did not move forward in court on June 5, 2025, that did not mean nothing happened. In fact, the day took an even more dramatic turn when, from detention, Simon Njoku Ekpa filed an extraordinary civil lawsuit against his own deputy, Dr. Ngozi Orebweze, who holds the title of Deputy Prime Minister in the self-proclaimed United States of Biafra. For many observers, this sudden legal action was far more than just an internal disagreement. It revealed fractures at the very top of a movement that has long prided itself on unity, secrecy, and coordinated leadership. The lawsuit accused Dr. Ngozi Orebweze of stealing what was described as a sensitive and highly classified digital database. This database allegedly contained detailed personal and financial information of members of the indigenous people of Biafra across Europe and the United States, individuals who had either registered with the movement, donated to its causes, or volunteered for logistical and political assignments in cities like London, Berlin, Milan, Houston, and Atlanta. Simon Njoku Ekpa's accusations were not light. In the legal documents submitted to the Pyhäjoki District Court in Finland, Simon Joku Ekpa, acting through a Finnish legal representative, made claims of gross misconduct, digital espionage, and malicious misuse of confidential data. He argued that the stolen database was not only a breach of internal protocols, but also a threat to the personal safety of hundreds of Biafran activists. Some of these activists, according to the documents, are currently in asylum proceedings or refugee status and fear retaliation if their details are exposed to hostile governments, particularly the Nigerian state. Simon Joku Ekpa's legal filing demanded not only full financial compensation and reimbursement of all legal costs, but also asked the court to impose punitive consequences that could extend beyond Finland's borders, such as digital restraining orders, international warrants, or European Union blacklists, though the enforceability of such demands remained unclear. The lawsuit created a ripple effect that was felt far beyond the walls of the Pyhäjoki District Court. Within hours of the news becoming public, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze issued a strongly worded public statement from an undisclosed location in the United States, where she is believed to be residing. In her rebuttal, she denied all the accusations and went on the offensive. According to Dr. Ngozi Orabueze, the entire legal action was a smokescreen, a deflection from what she described as growing dissent within the United States of Biafra leadership. In a live broadcast streamed across several platforms, including Facebook, X, and Telegram, Dr. Ngozi Orabueze accused the Biafran government in exile's legal advisor, Biafra lawyer Armand Diri, of working in secret with agents of the Nigerian government. She named specific Biafran officials, whom she alleged were receiving covert funding and intelligence support from Nigerian authorities. She claimed that their aim was to discredit Simon Joku Ekpa and destabilize the Biafran resistance through internal sabotage. Her broadcast, which lasted over an hour, was filled with emotion, veering between indignation, fear, and defiance. At one point, she held up what she described as an internal memo from January 2025 that warned of data vulnerability within the leadership's encrypted servers. She claimed she had flagged this issue months ago and that the alleged data breach had nothing to do with her actions. Instead, she pointed fingers at internal technical teams loyal to Armand Diri and another unnamed senior figure, whom she said had quietly opened back doors to the encrypted data systems. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Why would I steal data from my own people, from brothers and sisters I've worked with for years?" It was a rhetorical question, but one delivered with theatrical sincerity. She also expressed personal betrayal, saying that Simon Joku Ekpa had not even spoken to her directly in over 3 months, and that this lawsuit was not just unexpected, but deeply hurtful. While this dramatic internal fallout played out in public view, another event occurred that underscored the growing international footprint of the Biafra movement. On June 1, 2025, just a few days before the postponed court session and the explosive lawsuit, the Biafra government in exile had quietly opened what it described as an official embassy in Washington, D.C. The building, located only minutes from the White House, was inaugurated in a ceremony attended by members of the Biafra diaspora, including representatives from Canadian, German, and British-based Biafran organizations. The building is modest in size, but adorned with the rising sun flag of Biafra, along with gold lettering that spells out Embassy of the United States of Biafra. Although no official government in the world has recognized the Biafra government in exile or its institutions, the embassy event had symbolic weight. For supporters of the movement, the embassy's presence in the capital of the United States was a message of growing confidence and international assertiveness. Some Biafran leaders claim that the embassy opening was timed intentionally to occur ahead of the court proceedings in Finland, to show that the movement was not centered on any one individual, even someone as high-profile as Simon Njoku Ekpa, but was a broader institutional project. Photographs from the inauguration showed a small but passionate crowd waving Biafran flags, reading from printed copies of the Biafra Constitution, and speaking in both English and Igbo. Notably, printed copies of the newly updated Biafra Constitution were displayed for sale on Amazon the same week, further suggesting that the movement was trying to establish its legitimacy through formal structures, including a published legal charter. Meanwhile, back in Finland, legal analysts continued to pore over what the court was preparing to present on June 6, 2025. According to Finnish news outlets, the National Bureau of Investigation, known locally as Keskusrikospoliisi, was preparing to deliver 4 complete piles of legal and digital documentation to the court. These documents, investigators said, included email correspondences, financial transaction records, encrypted chat logs, and voice recordings, many of which were gathered under Finland's enhanced cybercrime cooperation protocols with the European Union. The Finnish legal system is known for its meticulous attention to due process, and many experts believe that June 6, 2025, may represent a turning point in the entire case. If these documents establish a clear line between Simon Njoku Ekpa's activities and the allegations against him, ranging from incitement of violence to unauthorized financial activities, then the trial may move swiftly towards sentencing. Under Finnish criminal law, Simon Njoku Ekpa faces a maximum sentence of 6 years in prison if found guilty, even if he pleads guilty to some of the charges. Finnish law typically imposes shorter sentences compared to other European or American systems, but it emphasizes the long-term social consequences of conviction, such as bans on leadership in political organizations or asset seizure. What complicates Simon Njoku Ekpa's situation further is that the charges against him are not isolated to Finnish territory. Several of the data breaches, financial transfers, and alleged incitements may have taken place across borders, involving bank accounts in Germany, cryptocurrency exchanges in Estonia, and even virtual meetings hosted on American servers. This cross-jurisdictional nature of the case may invite future involvement from law enforcement bodies like Europol or even Interpol, depending on the outcome of the Finnish court. As the trial continues, the broader question remains whether the leadership of the United States of Biafra can withstand this level of public and legal scrutiny. With Dr. Ngozi Orabueze now openly accusing her fellow leaders of betrayal and Simon Njoku Ekpa fighting both a criminal trial and a leadership mutiny, the movement's internal unity appears more fragile than ever. Supporters are divided, with some calling for an emergency internal Congress to elect new leaders and restructure the government in exile. Others remain loyal to Simon Njoku Ekpa, viewing the entire ordeal as a foreign-backed attempt to undermine a freedom fighter. Amid all of this, one cannot overlook the human dimension. Videos have surfaced showing Simon Njoku Ekpa sitting in his detention cell in Finland, reading letters from supporters, some of which are written in Igbo, others in Finnish or English. A recent video clip, filmed secretly and shared online, shows him softly singing a Biafran hymn under his breath, his face tired but composed. In a voice message released by his legal team, he thanked his supporters and reiterated his commitment to the Biafran cause, saying that no matter what happens in court, he will continue to fight for Biafran sovereignty, even if that means doing so behind bars. The trial is scheduled to resume in full force on June 6, 2025, at the Pihajoki District Court. The courtroom is expected to be tightly secured, with only a limited number of observers and journalists allowed entry due to the sensitivity of the materials being presented. At the heart of it all is a man who, from a small town in southeastern Nigeria, has become one of the most polarizing figures in African and European political discourse. Whether history will remember Simon Nyoku Ekpa as a visionary, a villain, or a victim remains to be seen. But for now, all eyes remain on Pihajoki, where Finland's quiet legal halls are echoing with the weight of a nation that does not yet officially exist, but refuses to be ignored. As the morning sun rose over Pihajoki on June 6, 2025, a chill still hung in the northern Finnish air despite it being summer. Outside the district courthouse, a small but intense group of international journalists, local Finnish news crews, and representatives from various Biafran solidarity movements gathered under the watchful eye of local police officers. They had returned with heavy anticipation, especially after the previous day's surprise adjournment and the shocking lawsuit Simon Nyoku Ekpa filed against Dr. Ngozi Orabueze. The crowd was quieter than usual, not because the interest had faded, but because everyone could sense that what was about to happen inside the courtroom might shape the direction of not only the legal case, but the political future of the Biafra movement in exile. Inside the courthouse, Simon Nyoku Ekpa was led in wearing a tailored navy blue suit with a thin Biafran flag pin attached just above his left breast pocket. His eyes were focused and alert, but those who had followed his appearances closely noticed he looked more exhausted than before. His face had grown a little leaner, the bags under his eyes slightly darker. Still, he nodded at the journalists and acknowledged the judge with a small bow. His composure remained intact, perhaps more out of habit than inner peace. Sitting next to him was his lead attorney, a Finnish woman in her late 40s named Elisa Nyström, who had worked on high-profile political asylum and international civil rights cases before. Her presence indicated that Simon Nyoku Ekpa intended to frame this case not merely as a criminal matter, but as a political trial with far-reaching implications. As the court began its proceedings, the focus quickly turned to the National Bureau of Investigation of Finland. 4 neatly stacked piles of documents were placed before the judge. Each stack was at least 300 pages thick, color-coded with tabs indicating email threads, encrypted messages, financial records, and surveillance data. Prosecutors introduced these documents as the core of their case against Simon Nyoku Ekpa. Finnish law allowed these materials to be used if they were obtained with proper legal protocols, which the prosecution claimed to have followed to the letter. Among the files was a series of encrypted signal chats that reportedly showed Simon Nyoku Ekpa coordinating financial activities involving cryptocurrency wallets and offshore transfers to anonymous receivers based in Dubai and Nairobi. Another set of documents included a series of emails exchanged with European-based suppliers of surveillance drones and satellite communication devices. The prosecution argued that these tools were used to coordinate what they referred to as civil disruption operations in parts of Nigeria, including the southeast regions of Anambra, Imo, and Abia. The Finnish prosecutors made it clear that they were not accusing Simon Nyoku Ekpa of personally engaging in acts of violence, but rather of using digital platforms and financial tools to encourage actions that later resulted in violence or civil disorder. To establish this link, The prosecution introduced recordings of virtual town hall meetings conducted on Zoom, many of which were hosted and moderated by Simon Njoku Ekpa himself. These town halls included fiery speeches, explicit fundraising efforts, and strategy sessions that included phrases like "paralyze the roads," "make them feel our presence," and "target all federal installations." While Simon Njoku Ekpa's defense team argued that these were rhetorical political statements made during a revolutionary moment, the prosecutors insisted that the words directly influenced actions that led to deaths, injuries, and destruction of property. This is the end of our news update. Please click the icon on the top right corner of your screen to watch my next video. You will enjoy it. I will see you again in my next update. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.